Did you know that the great Sir Laurence Olivier was offered a role as a mutant in Revelation of the Daleks? Or that the Ninth Doctor's first companion was almost an elderly grandfather? Or how about the story of Matt Smith's Albert Einstein fanfics? There are many tall tales and bizarre anecdotes throughout the history of Doctor Who, and those are just the tip of the iceberg. I'm Ellie for Who Culture, here with 10 unbelievable Doctor Who facts that are somehow true. Number 10. The Twin Dilemma writer's typewriter explodes. The Twin Dilemma is a deeply flawed story, and there's plenty of blame to be doled out for the failures of the Sixth Doctor's debut. One of the guilty parties was the serial's writer, Anthony Stephen. Progress on the script was painfully slow, and what was submitted didn't meet the approval of script editor Eric Saward or director Peter Moffat. Although Stephen eventually fell ill, forcing Saward to overhaul the story and do the rewrites himself, he did offer some increasingly wild and out-there excuses for the delays to the script. The one that the production team remembers is that Anthony Stephen's typewriter literally exploded, which certainly trumps the dog eating your first draft as an excuse. Whether Stephen's typewriter actually exploded or not isn't known, but it's clear that the more than 60-year-old screenwriter wasn't up to the task of writing his first and only Doctor Who story. Indeed, with the exception of further credits on drama series All Creatures Great and Small, The Twin Dilemma would be one of Stephen's final writing gigs altogether. To borrow a word from the Master's vocabulary, it was a rather ignominious end for the veteran screenwriter. Number 9. CBC wanted to dub Christopher Eccleston. From the very beginning, Doctor Who has been intrinsically linked with Canada as the brainchild of Toronto-born TV producer Sydney Newman. You know what? Shout out to all of Who Culture's Canadian subscribers while we're here. You're awesome. We love you. In 2004, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation agreed to invest in the upcoming revival of Doctor Who, starring Christopher Eccleston as the Ninth Doctor. It wasn't a no-strings-attached fling, however, as they did have one bizarre request that Russell T Davies was very quick to shoot down. That request? That CBC could completely redub Eccleston's voice with the voice of a Canadian actor. This was presumably because some far-off executive thought that the Doctor's northern tones might be unintelligible to the average viewer in Canada, as though Salford is some alien planet and not a place in England. To his credit, Russell T Davies put his foot down, telling CBC that they would definitely not be doing something so utterly insulting to their lead actor. Given how fraught the relationship between Christopher Eccleston and Doctor Who was in 2005, it's truly a relief that this insane request was turned down. Number 8. Chris Chibnall's Star Wars show. Entering pre-production shortly after the release of Star Wars Episode 3, Star Wars Underworld is one of the great unmade Star Wars projects, paused in 2010 and then quietly forgotten after Disney acquired Lucasfilm 2 years later. It's notable for all sorts of reasons: the projected budget of $4 million per episode, the fact that over 50 scripts were completed, and the fact that Battlestar Galactica's Ronald D. Moore was one of the writers involved with the project. But most interesting for Doctor Who fans was that none other than Chris Chibnall was a major part of the Star Wars Underworld writing team, alongside Fear Her and the Rebel Flesh and the Almost People writer Matthew Graham. Chibnall and Graham spent several years working on the project and completed 2 seasons worth of scripts in close collaboration with George Lucas himself. These scripts have never seen the light of day, but it's still crazy to imagine the writers of 42 and Fear Her being an integral part of George Lucas's next major Star Wars project. Chris Chibnall and Matthew Graham weren't the only Whoniverse writers circling Star Wars Underworld either. Russell T Davies has revealed that he was also approached for the series, but he was too busy making Doctor Who to attend a meeting with George Lucas. Hell of a flex there, Russell. Number 7. K9 was almost a man in a dog costume. Created by Bob Baker and Dave Martin, K9 would go on to become the Fourth Doctor's most loyal companion between seasons 15 and 18. The initial task of designing and building K9 for his debut story, The Invisible Enemy, lay with visual effects designer Ian Scoones. But rather than the sleek and simple design we eventually would get, Scoones envisioned K9 as a heavily armed robotic Rottweiler that could be operated by an actor, much like the Daleks are operated by a human inside the casing. Fortunately though, producer Graham Williams quickly vetoed this idea because he didn't want the Doctor's high-tech new companion to be seen as a man in a dog costume. And understandably so. Given how Doctor Who portrayed rats and dinosaurs in the 1970s, you can see how K9 as an actual dog probably wasn't a concept they could have executed convincingly. From here, K9's new designer Tony Harding came up with a smaller radio-controlled version, which would be voiced by John Leeson. That is from the studio floor and not crammed inside the dog's chassis, messy like Ace Ventura stuck inside that giant robot rhino. Interestingly, many years later, K9 co-creator Bob Baker introduced a heavily armoured robot dog in Wallace and Gromit's A Close Shave. All weird ideas get taken up eventually. Number 6. Wendy Padbury discovered Matt Smith. What do Tegan and Zoe have in common? Well, both Janet Fielding and Wendy Padbury went on to become talent agents after leaving Doctor Who. It's well known that Janet Fielding was Paul McGann's agent when he was cast as the 8th Doctor in the 1990s. But it's less well known that Wendy Padbury signed a fresh-faced Matt Smith many years before he was cast in Doctor Who. At Gallifrey 1 in 2009, Padbury recounted the story of how she went to see a National Youth Theatre production of The Master and Margarita and was struck by the magnetism of young Matt's performance. Padbury asked Smith about his career aspirations and invited him to a meeting at her agency, which also represented the Brigadier himself, Nicholas Courtney. Smith then signed with Padbury, and the rest, as they say, is history. Perhaps this is the real reason that Matt Smith was so drawn to the Patrick Troughton era while researching the role of the Doctor. It was a second Doctor companion who ultimately helped him get cast as number 11. It's hard to believe that in such a busy industry, two huge Doctor Who stars would find each other like this. But as the 11th Doctor famously said, you should never ignore a coincidence. Number 5. Billie Piper caught fire during Tooth and Claw. Even in real life, being a Doctor Who companion can put your life at risk. Famously, Sophie Aldred was almost drowned while filming Battlefield, and Mark Strickson suffered a seriously bad fall during the production of Enlightenment. Billie Piper also had a nasty accident on set, when she found herself on fire while shooting Tooth and Claw. Not as in she gave a really great performance, but actually literally on fire. But thankfully, the situation was quickly dealt with before becoming much, much worse. So how did this happen? Well, set on one dark, moonlit night in Torchwood House, there are a lot of candles on display during Tooth and Claw, which, when combined with the sheer amount of hairspray used to achieve Rose Tyler's hairdo, proved to be combustible. And so when Billie ran past some candles on a take, she managed to set her hair alight. After quickly patting out the blaze, she was said to offer the cast and crew a chance to smell her scorched curls, something that delighted Queen Victoria actress Pauline Collins, who responded, I love the smell of burning hair. Still, fire safety in the workplace is not very amusing, is it, Mom? Number 4. The Special Weapons Dalek is made of plant pots and a bin. The battle between the Imperial and Renegade factions in remembrance of the Daleks was so explosive that the Metropolitan Police were quickly on the scene to investigate a potential bombing by the Irish Republican Army. But in the reality of Doctor Who, these spectacular pyrotechnics were the work of the Special Weapons Dalek, the most tank-like variation of Davros's original Mark III travel machine. In real life, though, the Special Weapons Dalek was much less able to withstand its explosive capabilities, because it was partly constructed from some plant pots and a bin. Yep, you heard that right. The most fearsome weapons in the universe made out of random items from your back garden. The dome was a combination of the standard white Dalek dome spliced with a black plastic bin, while the gun attachment was constructed from plastic plant pot trays and MDF discs. The fact that this never even slightly occurs to you when watching Remembrance of the Daleks is a testament to the design team, whose work to augment the Special Weapons Dalek with rivets, weathering, and copious amounts of spray paint gives every impression of an unstoppable killing machine. Number 3. Torchwood the Musical. Given that West End and Broadway veteran John Barrowman was the lead, it's surprising that Torchwood never did a musical episode. More surprising than that, however, is the fact that Benny and Bjorn were involved with a prospective Torchwood stage musical. It seems utterly bizarre that while basking in the smash hit success of Mamma Mia, the ABBA boys found themselves drawn into this mad little show about sex, weevils, and more weevils in Cardiff. Russell T Davies revealed this mind-boggling potential collaboration in the behind-the-scenes book The Writer's Tale, the final chapter. And in a 2024 interview with Games Radar, Russell T Davies revealed that he regretted turning down a meeting with Benny and Bjorn. He said, quote, "I turned the meeting down. That never happened. How stupid was I? ABBA wanted to do a Torchwood musical. Honestly, if I could have a TARDIS and travel back in time, I would go clout myself on the head over that decision. What was I thinking?" Sadly, we'll never know if Torchwood the musical would have made some serious money, because instead of saying gimme, 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 RTD refused to take a chance on Benny and Bjorn. Okay, I'm done. I promise I'm done. For now, it seems like the Devil's Chord's crazy dance sequence and the Interstellar Song Contest will be the closest Doctor Who gets to doing an actual proper musical episode. Although it does feel like it's only a matter of time until it does happen. Number 2, Bernard Kribbins auditioned for the 4th Doctor. Bernard Kribbins will always be remembered for playing Wilfred Mott in various Doctor Who episodes between 2007 and 2024. However, things could have been very, very different if an important meeting from the mid-1970s had gone another way. And that meeting was about playing the Doctor. In 2008, Kribbins revealed that he had auditioned to play the Fourth Doctor in 1974. He was one of the many names in the frame to succeed Jon Pertwee, including fellow Carry On star Jim Dale and Doctor Who and the Silurians guest star Fulton Mackay. While it's hard to see anyone else but Tom Baker in the role of the Fourth Doctor, Bernard Kribbins feels like the one name who could have taken Doctor Who to something approximating that level in terms of popularity. I would have loved to have done that, he said in 2008. We concluded the interview and I went home and didn't get the job. Bernard, you're not alone. There's a part of all of us that would have loved to have seen that too. Still, if Kribbins had played the Fourth Doctor in the 1970s, who would have played Donna's beloved grandfather in the late 2000s? While it may have been disappointing for Kribbins back in 1974, this failed audition worked out beautifully in the end. Number 1. The FBI investigated the Daleks. The Daleks may be one of the greatest threats to all of creation, but in reality they're just monsters on the telly, right? Well, Dallas-based writer Paul Riddle claims that a workplace joke about the Doctor's arch-enemies once led to him being investigated by the FBI. In 1987, Riddle was working for Texas Instruments, a semiconductor company with a contract to design a high-speed anti-radiation missile that could destroy enemy air defenses. Due to its important role in national security, the specifics of the system were a closely guarded secret. One day, Riddle's boss jokingly asked if he'd sold any of these secrets to the Russians, to which Riddle replied, quote, "No, but I sold a few to the Daleks." With Doctor Who being a curiosity confined to public access television in late 1980s Dallas, Riddle's boss suspected Riddle could actually be an enemy agent and sounded the alarm. Riddle was then subjected to questioning by various lawyers and agents before it was discovered that the Daleks weren't actually real and the whole thing was dropped. So how did Riddle respond to all this? He said, quote, "I told them I would never sell us out to the Daleks anyway. The Cybermen or the Sontarans, sure, they pay more." What a legend. And that concludes our list. If you have some unbelievable Doctor Who facts that you know for 100% are true, then please do drop them in the comments down below. But don't go telling us any porky pies now, okay? We want actual, real-life, 100% confirmed facts here. Blow our minds. In the meantime, I've been Ellie for Who Culture, and in the words of Riversong herself, goodbye, sweeties.